Night sky with you, getting high in the sunrise with you, getting through all the bad times with you. I wasn't missing a thing, no I do. And I wish that I could build a time machine, 'cause time moves on, and now you're gone. Oh, if only I could build a time machine, I'd come and get you. I can't forget you. I miss you, I miss you, I miss you all the time. I wish that you were mine. I miss you, I miss you, I miss you all the time. I wish that you were mine. What the hell am I doing this for? Lying here on my bedroom floor, finding peace in the memories of you. I wasn't missing a thing, no I do. And I wish that I could build a time machine, 'cause time moves on, and now you're gone. Oh, if only I could build a time machine, I'd come and get you. I can't forget you. I miss you, I miss you, I miss you all the time. I wish that you were
What is up, everybody? If you're just tuning in, my name is Ryan. This is the Kingsman Report live podcast. It's streaming on DLive, Twitch, Periscope, and YouTube simultaneously. If you are in the chat, all the chats are integrated with each other, so you can chat with everybody from if they're on the Discord, if they're on Twitch, if they're on YouTube, Periscope, DLive, everyone can talk to each other. They're all integrated. Doesn't matter where you're viewing this from. Also, thank you everybody that subscribed to the channel. You have to bear with me because I'm extremely tired. So much going on and trying to keep up with everything. But I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to the people that subscribed in YouTube side. Because DLive, there's so many people over there. So thank you everyone that's over in DLive. And by the way, the GIFs, you can use them over in DLive. Just don't overuse them. I think they're hilarious. So on YouTube, honorable gentlemen, I got Jokes, Scuzz, Tina is Many, Bailey, Joe Marie, Faith Hilling, Yvonne Hawthorne, Sharon Mosher, Rivian Saravian, I don't know, David Trivet, Jasmine Raphael, Edward, La Rochelle. So anyone else that subscribed to the channel on YouTube that I can't see your subscriptions, thank you for subscribing as well. Also, if you subscribe while I'm live, it'll pop up in the middle of the screen. There's an alert for that as well, in case I miss it. So you guys have fun in the chat. If it gets too crazy, I'll have to go over to DLive and shut the GIFs down. But I don't know how many people are honestly going to view this, so... this will have a replay. It's good for up to 3 days. and you guys can rewatch on there. It's also uploaded to YouTube afterwards. That count that you see on the screen, that's for YouTube and Twitch. Those are the only two that it integrates that for. So with all that being said, once again, my name is Ryan. It is Sunday the 5th of January 2020, and it's a little bit after 7 o'clock. If you want to go and listen to this in podcast form, if you don't have time to listen to it or watch it tonight, you can go to anchor.fm/Kingsman Report. All my links are on there. All the links to the socials are in the About section on YouTube. They're also in the About section on DLive. You can go there and you can click on those, and then you can listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, everywhere podcasts are available. So you guys feel free, go over there, check that out, and we'll get to it. All right, so this first article, what I usually do here, the thumbnail that you see there, it says Ezekiel chapter 38 through 39, a perfect storm. Now I'm going to show you, it's been going on longer than this, but from 2015 to where China is building what they're calling the New Silk Road, and they're opening trade routes from China through the Middle East into Russia. Who's funding this? Xi Jinping. And I'm going to get into all this stuff. I'm not saying that what's going on in the Middle East right now is Ezekiel 38 and 39. I'm asking the question, is it the perfect storm for this to happen? It is a possibility. A lot of attacks going on over there. Pray for the, from last article I read right before I came on, 3 American soldiers were killed in one of the attacks. So, pray for everyone that's involved in this. Pray for our military that's going overseas that are defending what's going on over there. Just keep everybody in your prayers. So what I usually do is I go through the articles, I go through a few articles, and then I get to the main topic. And that'll be at the end of this. So, this first article says, Amazon threatened to fire employees for speaking out about climate, workers say. Now, if you don't know this, climate control, that terminology, or that term specifically will be used to help usher in the Agenda 2030. That is what they're going to go, that is going to be the basis or the foundation for them to, I guess, try to get everyone on board with it. They're going to say, oh, our climate's bad. You know the whole agenda. I don't have to explain it to you. If you're in the now, you're here, you're watching this, then you already know what's going on. So now if you work at Amazon, you can't even say anything bad about climate change, or you take the risk of being fired. This is where we're at. All right, the article says, Amazon has threatened to fire employees for speaking publicly about the company's role in the climate crisis. Tech workers at the retail giant have revealed. An email shared with The Guardian shows Amazon's Human Resources Department launched a, quote, investigation into one employee, Marion Costa, over comments made to the media that called for the company to do more to tackle the climate crisis. In the email, Costa is told she would not face punishment at this point, but that any future comments unauthorized by Amazon may, quote, result in formal corrective action to and including termination or of your employment with Amazon. A group of Amazon employees who band together to call for a stronger climate action by the company said several members have been questioned by legal and HR representatives about their public comments. Some received follow-up emails similar to Costa's that threatened dismissal for speaking out in the future. This is how intrusive this is getting now. You can't even work at certain places of business without them threatening this. It goes on to say, Costa said 4 employees have been questioned and 2 have been threatened with termination if they continue speaking up about Amazon's role in the climate crisis without seeking approval. Costa, a user experience principal designer, said, quote, it was scary to be called into a meeting like that and then to be given a follow-up email saying that if I continue to speak up, I could be fired. But I spoke up because I'm terrified by the harm the climate crisis is already causing, and I fear for my children's future. Any policy that says I can't talk about something that is a threat to my children, all children, is a problem for me. According to Amazon, it started updating its external communications policy for staff in spring last year, and it said it was not aimed at any particular group of employees. So, as always, I go through a little bit of articles. All the links are posted in the description on YouTube. If you go to the website, they're there too. All those links are in the About section. This is also a live call, and the number scrolling across the bottom of the screen. It's 1-408-638-0968, and you can enter the meeting ID 534-233-4758. And if you want to send email, that it's to the kingsmanreport2019@gmail.com. On to the next. It doesn't give me problems. So, I have climate change articles because of that first article. Climate change is bringing earlier springs, which may trigger drier summers. Today in Oklahoma, it was 61 degrees here. It's very nice outside. And hello, everyone that's over in D Live. I will pop the chest over there. I don't know how many are watching right now. I had to pull it up, but I will pop the chest here later. You guys just keep reminding me over there. Like I said, you guys are good on gifts. There probably won't be that many people watching right now, but use away. They're hilarious. And you're integrated for just joining. So you can talk with people on YouTube, you can talk with D Live, vice versa. So you guys have fun. This article goes on to say the early arrival of spring is often cause for celebration in northern climates, but it may come at a cost of drier, hotter days in some areas in summer. As winter wanes and leaves start to peek out from branches, trees increasingly draw water from the soil and move into the sky, a process known as evapotranspiration. Transpiration, I guess. I don't know. But when this greening starts earlier in the calendar year, scientists worry that more moisture could be sucked up from the soil than if the season starts later. Now analysis of satellite data and climate simulations show that earlier spring greening can leave soils drier in summer across much of the northern hemisphere. That in turn could lead to more frequent and intense summer heat waves, researchers report January 3rd in Science Advances. As the climate warns, scientists expect to see earlier springs and longer growing seasons. One study found that already the growing season in the northern hemisphere has extended by about 10 days on average over the last 3 decades. So I'm not going to read the entirety of the article here. Links in the description on that. What I do here is I put a bunch of stuff together. I put these articles out here so you guys can go to these articles. You can read it for yourself, and then you can make up your own minds on those. Because of you're going to see more about, I'm going to say it anyways. Like I said, on YouTube, I will say words, they may kick me off, but I'm going to say them. You're going to see more in the news about vaccinations. You're going to see more in the news about climate change. This word here, geoengineering, you're going to see all of this stuff. As we move towards that Agenda 2030 base model, we're going to start seeing more articles, even in the mainstream news. Words that they used to deny and say, these were conspiracies. You're going to see this stuff popping up in the news everywhere. Over the last, I think, month or so, almost every article I come across is vaccinations, geoengineering, cloud seeding, you name it. They're desensitizing us to this information, getting us used to it so that it's easier for us to accept it. And this is where we're at. So this article says geoengineering wouldn't be enough to stop Greenland from melting. When the Greenland ice sheet went into record meltdown in the summer of 2019, it raised a very terrifying specter of the future. Here was a 12.5 billion ton mass of ice, one that's been melting at a quickening pace since 1980s. Melting in a way scientists didn't expect to happen for decades. While the ice sheet won't completely disappear for centuries, any further increases in its melt will put coastal communities at risk of inundation. Excuse me. There's an argument to be made that we should do everything possible to save the ice, and a new study explores a very controversial idea to that end, cooling the planet. The findings, published last month in Earth's Future, explore what would happen if the world pumped particles high into the atmosphere that would reflect sunlight back into space. This higher altitude air conditioning scheme, known as a solar radiation management or SRM, would bring down the global average temperature. The paper's results show that cooling would help slow, though not stop, the melting of the ice sheet. That could buy coastal regions time, but also change the climate in other ways that may end up hurting other regions around the world. Geoengineering is the boogeyman of climate policy, a word that calls to mind skies bleached sulfur. The threats to Greenland ice are coming from seemingly all directions. Relatively hot water has undercut the glaciers tumbling down from the ice sheet, while rising air temperatures have melted it from above. Recent wildfires have also left a cake of dark soot that absorbs more sunlight, enhancing surface melt. And then there are surface pools of water that funnel into cracks in the ice, furthering destabilizing it. In short, climate change is engaged in an all-out war on the ice sheet that will only intensify in the coming century. Projections indicate the ice sheet melting would lead to anywhere from 10 to 20 centimeters or 4 to 8 inches of sea level rise this century, with much higher rates of rise in the Pacific. If you guys have any thoughts on any of these articles, feel free to call in, send emails, talk about it in the chat room. Northwind says aluminum particles. So what they say are in this stuff is barium and aluminum dioxide. It's called chaff. We talked about it yesterday when I called in to Adam's show. This chaff is also, people suspect that over in California, since they're doing geoengineering there, that this chaff is falling into this dried brush, and then when these fires hit it, it's like throwing gasoline on a wildfire, basically, and it burns everything to the ground. People suspect this is happening in Australia as well. Also, on top of that, this, I guess it's like a false dome that they're trying to create. And when that sunlight goes through there, it's magnified. It creates a greenhouse effect, and then in turn, it obviously is going to melt things a lot faster. So that is what that stuff is. From what I've read up on it, that's what it is. Funny enough, if you guys know anything about Baal worship, the periodic table, barium's Ba and aluminum is Al. So that's Baal. I just think that that's not coincidental either. So this next, if you see me look up, my screens are up here, by the way. This next article says Australian bushfire smoke has turned glaciers in New Zealand brown. I know, isn't it? Let's see. Hang on just a second. Molly Davis said, Baal, very odd. Yeah, whenever I found that one out, my mind was kind of blown on that. A lot of people don't pay attention to those little tidbits like that. This article says, Australian bushfire smoke has turned glaciers in New Zealand brown. Smoke and ash from Australia bushfires have turned glaciers in New Zealand brown, sparking concerns that they may melt faster. New Zealand has more than 3,000 glaciers. The country's former prime minister tweeted that the ash is likely to accelerate melting, and one expert said it could increase glacial melt by 30%. Australia is more than 1,000 miles away, but on Wednesday, much of New Zealand's South Island was in an orange haze from wildfire ash. By Thursday, the glaciers had gone from white to caramel color. Bushfires in Australia have burned over 13 million acres so far, killing at least 20 people as of Friday morning, and over 150 fires were burning. Those flames are being fueled by a severe drought, strong winds, and high temperatures. A state of emergency is in effect in both New South Wales and Victoria. Both declarations give the state governments power to forcibly evacuate residents and close roads. You talked about this, pyrocumulus clouds. Or I don't know, that very long word. pyrocumulus clouds. I think it is. I'm not sure. Anyways, they're creating thunderstorms. If you watch the video, I covered that in the video that I did, Australian Fire's speed train proposal. If you watch that video, you see that smoke, you see the fire, and you see the smoke going up, and it builds these huge thunderheads. And then those thunderstorms are having lightning strikes, and they're causing more fires, and those winds are kicking up, and they're blowing all that stuff inland, and it's causing more fires in the same area that they are burning Australia, where these proposed smart cities and speed rail proposal are going in. Not coincidental in my book. Okay, so I'm going to start getting into the build-up for the thumbnail there. Some of these articles you guys might have seen already. So, this is the news that everyone ignores, and like I said, it's kind of hard to ignore what's going on right now. So a lot of these articles, you may have seen them. I'm not going to go through them completely, so I can get to what at the end of this. So this article says, Petraeus says killing of Suleimani more significant than bin Laden. And yes, I say the names on here in case you were wondering, because YouTube's eventually going to give me a boot. So a former CIA director has said a drone strike that destroyed an Iranian general is, quote, more significant than the killing of Osama bin Laden. U.S. General David Petraeus, who led the intelligence agency from 2011 to 2012, claimed Friday's assassination of Qasem Soleimani near Baghdad International Airport was also more important than the death of the, I won't say that word though, that leader of that group there, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. And Soleimani's body was returned to Iran on Sunday, and it was unloaded from a plane. From a plane, a crowd angrily chanted, "Death to America." Links are in the description on that. If you guys want to check that out, hang on. Check the chat here. Expat, as we move from ice age to water age, there will be a period of desertification. The more CO2 gets released, more life, more fire. It's getting crazier. But like I said, I'm real careful about talking about that. People have lost their lives over there. I've read some tragic stories on here about that. This article says, CFR president says, quote, the world will be the battlefield after Iran escalation. Funny, the Council on Foreign Relations will get involved in this. You know anything about, Obama's deal, all the stuff that he did with him before he exited, all the different, I'm drawing a blank right now. I'm extremely tired. Executive orders that he signed with the UN, which is, they're going to try to implement that over in Virginia. I pray God they don't. It says, the president of the Council on Foreign Relations, Richard N. Haas, says, quote, the world would be the battlefield following a dramatic escalation in tensions between the United States and Iran. Fears of a wider war are rising after Iran's Quds Force General Qasem Soleimani was killed during an airstrike near Baghdad Airport, and Haas has warned that those who thought any war with Iran would look similar to the previous military campaigns were being incredibly naive. Make no mistake, any war with Iran will not look like the 1990 Gulf War or the 2003 Iraq wars. It will be fought throughout the region with a wide range of tools versus a wide range of civilian, economic, and military targets. The region and possibly the world will be the battlefield. Make no mistake, any war with Iran will not look like, and yeah, he's just repeating himself. He went on to assert that developments would lead to Iraqi authorities exerting great pressure on the U.S. to leave their country. One sure result of the U.S. strike is that the era of U.S.-Iraq cooperation is over. U.S. diplomatic and military presence will end because Iraq asked us to depart our presence in just a target or both. The result will be a greater Iranian influence, terrorism, and Iraqi infighting. This article says U.S. and British spy plane appears in the skies over the Middle East. U.S. and U.K. electronic surveillance aircraft have been operational this morning along the eastern Mediterranean and Middle East, according to the online flat tracking enthusiast. The U.S. Air Force RC-135W rivet joint aircraft was spotted for several hours flying a racetrack pattern off the coast of Lebanon, while an RAF Sentinel R-1 was spotted leaving RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus before overflying Israel and Jordan. Here's a map here. You guys can see that. Flight tracking enthusiasts have followed a pair of U.S. and U.K. electronic warfare aircraft on a mission earlier today. U.S. RC-135W rivet joint jet flew a racetrack pattern off the Lebanese coast, while the RAF Sentinel R-1 flew over Israel and into Jordan. There's another picture of it there. All right. I'm sure we all saw this. So this says, quote, "No more threats. Trump warns Iran 52 targets will be hit very fast and hard." Following today's mortar attacks and bellicosity from various Iranian and Iran-backed leaders, President Trump has responded in words for now, warning Iran in 3 short words: no more threats. Says Iran is talking very boldly about targeting certain USA asset as revenge for our ridding the world of their terrorist leader. Then reminded his followers just exactly that Soleimani had what he had done. Soleimani had just killed an American and badly wounded many others, not to mention all the people he had killed over his lifetime. You know, expat said, Islam was born out of the oppression of infidel crusaders. The Quran is a revenge manifesto written by a man who had heard voices in his head. This article here says Iraqi parliament votes to expel U.S. troops over killing of Iranian general. The Iraqi parliament passed a resolution Sunday calling on the government to expel U.S. troops from the country in response to the killing of Iranian general and the leader of the Iraqi militia on its soil. I'm not going to read that in its entirety. These articles, if you don't know any of this stuff is going on, and you're living under a rock right now. So that's why I'm kind of speeding through these articles right now. U.S. said seeing signs of prepping ballistic missiles as Tehran vows revenge. This one, unless you're following a bunch of guys that follow this stuff very closely, I don't know how many people have heard about this one. So the U.S. is seeing indications that Iran has stepped up its readiness to launch short-range and medium-range ballistic missiles following the killing of the same guy there. It says the network quoted an unarmed U.S. official with direct knowledge on the issue as Washington braces for Iran's response to Friday's strike. Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei has said Tehran will react with, quote, harsh revenge to hit on the popular general who is his personal friend. U.S. intelligence is conducting surveillance by various means to assess when the missiles could be ready to launch, the report said. The Times of Israel Daily, let's see here. Meanwhile, another unnamed U.S. official told CNN that the American defense chiefs were holding intense discussions as they tried to ascertain whether Iran plans to retaliate in the next few days with, quote, conflicting views on when a major attack may come. An assault was definitely expected, quote, within weeks, at maximum, the official said. And then you can see them there. I'm sure everyone knows about this. I believe this is the one I said that 3 Americans were killed in. That just came out, I think, 3 hours ago. So that happened. And I think I have the red flag one here. All right, so this says Bahrain condemns Turkish decision to send forces to Libya. Bahrain's Ministry of Foreign Affairs stresses in a statement that Ankara's decision to reject interference in the internal affairs of Libya in violation of international legitimacy and relevant Security Council resolutions. It added that the decision contradicts with the Arab stance and impedes efforts to restore peace and stability across Libya. The ministry urged the international community to fulfill its responsibilities in addressing the Turkish move, which it said constitutes a threat to Arab national security and the entire region. It stressed, quote, the need to back all efforts to eliminate terrorism, deter all terrorist organizations in Libya, and support international efforts seeking a comprehensive settlement. So I went there because I'm going to show you guys this. Now, this is, I mean, it's not a graphic as far as, blood and gore, but this is why Turkey is doing what they're doing. So I'm going to play this, and keep in mind, I believe it said 28 people. Minimize this. This missile killed 28 cadets and injured 23 others. All right, so So that is the reason Erdogan is doing what he's doing over there. This article should have been back there at the beginning. The red flag of Jihad raises as 1,000's mourn death of Suleimani in Baghdad. If you don't know what this is, and what many Middle East experts are calling an, quote, ominous signal to the West following the assassination of the commander of the IRGC's Quds Force, General Qasem Soleimani, a red flag has been hoisted over the holy mosque of Jam Quran in Qom, Iran's holiest city. This article here, so this is, hang on just a second. Good Lord, Restream, what's up with your comments? They're integrated from everywhere. So those guys that are over on DLive send them and they come into YouTube. YouTube, you guys send them and they go over to DLive. So you guys can communicate back and forth. If there's people viewing on Periscope, they can also type and their messages will pop up in there as well. This article says Turkey sending troops into Libya. That's the best way I could integrate it, Molly, so everyone could have a chance. If they didn't want to use DLive, then they could stay on YouTube until I get the boot, and then everyone could talk back and forth. So I just integrated it that way. NL Expat said that wasn't a 500-pound bomb. At least now the jihadists and the UN climate change caliphate is out in the open. And this is so if Trump is indeed strategically planning, and I believe that he is, that's exactly what he's doing. He's drawing all these guys out, so he's going to know where to go, if it in fact goes as far as some of us think that it's going to go. Yeah, I think he's drawing people out. Hang on. Excuse me. This says the Libyan force is weak. Libyan leaders are living lavish lifestyles while the Muslim Brotherhood takes over their nation. Turkish President Erdogan has offered military support in exchange for Libya's subjugation, and this week the Libyan government has agreed to Erdogan's terms. Turkey has also teamed up with Libya to rewrite the rules of who owns oil drilling rights in the Mediterranean. If you guys are new here, I covered that article. It's Israel versus Turkey. They kicked a research vessel, an Israeli research vessel, out of the Mediterranean near Cyprus. This is why I'm getting to the thumbnail there, where it says Ezekiel 38:39, because most elements for this are there. Not all of them are there, but most. So that's why me and a lot of other guys are watching this closely, because this, like I said, this has been a build-up for a very long time. Opening trade routes in the Middle East, China being a part of it since what is shown 2015. It's probably even before that. And this is what we're doing. Let's see here. You know, expat proxy war is already happening on a small insurgent scale in Western Christian nations, all under the guise of saving the planet from itself. So it goes on to say Turkey has teamed up with Libya to rewrite the rules of who owns drilling rights to the Mediterranean. Turkish President Erdogan has divided the Mediterranean between Turkey and Libya. Excuse me. Encroaching on Greece, Cyprus, and Egyptian waters. Turkish President Erdogan is taking over the Mediterranean Sea, but also intends to take over the Mediterranean nations. Erdogan already has Libya in his grip, but he also intends to reinstate Muslim Brotherhood leadership in Egypt. Daniel chapter 11 says that the Antichrist will invade Egypt from the land and the sea, and every Bible teacher agrees that the king of the south refers to Egypt. So you can go through these Bible verses here. If you're a Bible believer, I know that probably not everybody that will tune into this necessarily I'm not forcing anything on anybody, but if you want to read more into this, it goes on to quote the book of Revelations 13:3, and it talks about the different Ezekiel 38:5, Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya. With them, all of them will shield and helmet. So this, I don't think we're quite here. There are elements of this happening. I don't think we're quite here yet, but they are setting up for control, basically. These governments, China, Russia, Turkey, they're all in this. This next article says the battles of Gog and Magog, and this is what goes into Ezekiel 38 and 39 and the book of Revelation. The first battle is called the Gog and Magog in Ezekiel chapter 38, about to happen. Every nation that is mentioned in Ezekiel chapter 38 is already fighting in Syria. And after Turkey invades Syria and destroys Damascus, then they will lead these forces into northern Israel. The 7-year tribulation period will follow. The church will be rescued from the terrible time of trouble that is coming upon the earth. The resurrection and rapture must be very near, and it is high time to awake, because our salvation is nearer than we first believed. Like I personally believe, we may be headed here. I don't necessarily believe we're completely there. I think things have to happen in order for this to be fully implemented. But I think that this may be where we're headed to. So a whole bunch of people have covered this. Russia-backed Syria constitution talks begin in Geneva. It says the foreign ministers of Iran, Russia, and Turkey at a press conference on a meeting of Syria committee in Geneva. And that's what this picture is here. Russia underscored its role in the political future of Syria as the Moscow-backed Syrian Constitutional Committee met for the first time under the UN auspices to chart a political settlement to end the 8.5-year civil war. The meeting, a key proposal from Moscow and Geneva, is being overseen by the UN, who is the army of the globalist government. Special envoy for Syria, Geir Pedersen, with expectations low that the Syrian government, in an increasingly strong military position, will see the need to make any major political concessions to secure Western recognition. The talks are being held against the backdrop of fresh fighting in the northeast Syria between the Syrian army and the Turkish-backed troops. Clashes took place near the border town of Ras Al Ain on Wednesday, Syrian media reported. That article is old, like I said. I'm building up towards something here. This is a elaboration, reiterates what the last article there says. All these links are put in the description. You guys can go there, read these for yourself. Compare these to the scriptures that are on the thumbnail there. Come up with your own conclusion. So if you guys don't know what this is, you guys might know what this is. Some of you might not. Russia, they say, is the bear. This plane is a Tu-95 Bear. You don't know who owns this plane here. Russia's Tu-95 Bear bomber. Everything you need to know. You think it is coincidental they own a bomber called the Bear, and people believe that Russia is the bear of the Book of Revelation. God make God. Let me see this here. I'm going to go back to the chat. It says, Estefano, the rapture only takes 144,000. I'm with you on that one. And we can back that biblically. So basically what this article, and it's in the description, it tells you what the Tu-95, quote, Bear, a 4-engine Russian strategic bomber and maritime patrol plane with a gigantic unicorn-like refueling probe, giving it the appearance of a monstrously lurching in from prehistoric times, or at least from shortly after World War II, as in fact the case. So it goes on to say, don't let looks deceive you. Over 60 years later, the Tu-95 remains in service because few aircraft can cover such great distances for such long periods of time while carrying a hefty payload, which is to say the Tu-95 is Russia's B-52, but one with a decidedly maritime bent on a habit of knocking at the door of coastal air defense systems in Europe, Asia, and North America. I saw this article a very long time ago, and if you read the scriptures and people describe Russia as the bear, and then you see that they have a bomber called the Bear, it's pretty insane. Could they potentially put some of their hypersonic missiles on there? I don't know. I don't know if many people covered this. So I'm going to get into China's part in all of this. It says China is building enormous self-sustaining Chinese cities all over the African continent. And I don't know if you guys know this, but right now it's said, and some people that I know that are in South Africa that I'm friends with over in Africa deny that this is happening. This may be because I've read articles before where they said that it was, propaganda and some news that China had these connections with certain, like WAPO, for instance. New York Times, I think, was another one of them. They said that they had these connections with them where they would push, propaganda on everybody to make us believe that they're, starting to build these smart cities, initiate their version of Agenda 21 over there. We know they're a technical giant. We know that they have the 5G, that they're going to the digital yuan, which I've covered that also. China's going to be completely crypto pretty soon. I've covered articles that says that our government, our Federal Reserve, is contemplating creating a type of cryptocurrency. I did a video, and this may be far-fetched, but it's just me thinking, and I always ask the question because I don't want to implant my ideas inside your mind and say, this is what it is. I did a video and I asked, could cryptocurrencies be the one world currency that's spoke about in the Book of Revelation? You can't buy, sell, or trade without it. And then I tied it in with the thing that's going on in Austin, Texas, that has to do with the implementation of the chips. They're doing also in southern Florida, where they're actually going and they're locking folks up and they're forcing them to take the chip. People are said to be disappeared down there, all types of stuff. So it is a possibility. I mean, if you think about it, if you don't cash your check for a promissory note, you're pretty much getting ones and zeros in your bank account anyways, so it's pretty much digital. We just have this fiat currency that's not necessarily backed by anything, but if they were to turn it over and say, well, we can create the worth of a cryptocurrency and have a value, then we could back this promissory note that's already in circulation by the worth of our cryptocurrency. It could be a possibility. And this is just me thinking, but it could happen. Just seeing where different economies are going as far as the crypto goes, the cashless societies in China, all these different things. The article goes on to say, during colonial times, European powers exploited Africa for the vast resources that it possesses. But what China is doing today is actually much worse. Yes, the Chinese greatly desire African resources, but ultimately what they want is Africa itself. But instead of conquering Africa using military force, China is using economics instead. Today, more than 10,000 Chinese-owned firms are operating in Africa, and virtually every major road, bridge, railway, and skyscraper is being built by the Chinese. As a result, most African nations are very deeply indebted to China at this point. As you will see below, when those debts go bad, that gives the Chinese tremendous amount of leverage. And this is what Xi Jinping does. What he does is, for instance, I'm going to show you this article too. Not a lot of people covered this either. What he does, he gave Erdogan, so Turkey got sanctions put on. Erdogan goes to Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping gives Turkey money and pads his government, pads his economy. In turn, he opens ports for Xi Jinping, and what I believe they're over there fighting these wars right now because they're clearing what I'm going to show you from 2015, and there's also an Asia trade agreement over there. What they're doing is they're opening up this Silk Road trade route from China through the Middle East up into Russia. That's why you have the leader of Iran. That's why you have Xi Jinping, and that's why you have Russia trying not only to draft a constitution of sorts for the people in the Middle East, but you have all these other countries over there that are invading this in order to, what I believe is to open these trade routes for this trade deal that was created by Xi Jinping, or the one that he wants. So if you want to read more about that, the article's in the description. I'm sorry, I'm watching the chat here at the same time, so I don't have to keep looking up. Pakistan, damn. Christian individualism will always win out over U.S. and them idiot ologies, be they Islam or communism, because we are all individuals. Here's one thing about me. I'm a Torah observer. I keep the instructions, and people will say, well, you don't have to keep the law and all this other stuff, and we can go into this whole debate about all this stuff. And then it's a whole deal here. But I don't do certain things. I keep it because it is beneficial to me. I don't push it on anybody else. It gives me structure. It gives me solitude. It gives me peace. It does all those things for me as an individual. I don't push it on anybody else. I don't go and try to, put people down by beating them over the head with a knowledge of the scripture, anything like that. I do it because it's beneficial to me. So everyone in this country, as far as we still have our rights here, are able to practice whatever they want to. From this point, it may change in the future. This article says Asia Times, China's $3.6 billion bailout insulates Turkey from U.S. So what this article is what I just talked about. Despite the U.S. threat to obliterate and destroy Turkey's economy, the Turkish lira and Turkish interest rates barely have budged in the past week. Turkish stocks, especially banks, are down sharply, in part due to the U.S. criminal charges against Hall Bank for aiding Iran sanctions violations. This is remarkable given the fragility of Turkey's currency earlier in 2019 between February and May. Turkish lira fell from 5.2 to the US dollar to 6.2 in response to US sanctions, before recovering to 5.88 to the dollar today. This is, I basically just talked about this. Erdogan went and got a bailout from Xi Jinping, $3.6 billion, and the article prior to that, he goes and he bails these nations out. If they fail to pay back the debt, then they are indebted to him. They'll take the ports, they'll open the trade routes. There will be no benefit for the country, probably no benefit for the country that's indebted to him. He does this everywhere. It's all around the world he does this. So this article here, and this is what I'm going to show you. I believe this is one that dates back. China's $900 billion New Silk Road, what you need to know. CK says, whole Bible believer, the word made manifest, living. Well, people got to get past this thing too. You read your Bible very carefully. God is a spirit. So, and it came and tabernacled amongst us. So that spirit housed himself in man, his son, and it came and lived amongst men. Let's see here. Back in the chat. NL Expat says political correctness is cowardice. You can't deny that Islam is an U.S. and them ideology. Read the Quran, listen to their teaching. I actually have read a little bit of the Quran. I have friends that are Islamic. I mean, they're not this radicalized version of it. We've talked scriptures. We've done that type of stuff. I don't have a problem with the ones that I know necessarily. So it says you probably heard of the Silk Road, the ancient trade route that once ran between China and the West during the days of the Roman Empire. It's how Oriental silk was first made it into Europe. It's also the reason China is no stranger to carrots. And now it's being resurrected. Announced in 2013 by President Xi Jinping, a brand new double trade corridor is set to reopen channels between China and its neighbors in the West, most notably Central Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. So this was in 2015. According to the Belt and Road Action Plan released in 2015, the initiative will encompass land routes, or the Belt, and maritime routes, the Road, with the goal of improving trade relations in the region primarily through infrastructure investments. So it's just what I was talking about. Right here, if you look at this map, so China says Silk Road Economic Belt, 21st Century Maritime Silk Road. So this is the trade route right here that they're wanting to open up. If you look where they're at, you got Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Libya, everywhere this is going on right now. Just so happens to be where we have military presence. We have Turkey going into Syria. We have India and Pakistan beefing. We got all these people over here beefing. If you think it is not to open this trade route and to take over parts of Africa and put in smart cities here, and this isn't a part of Agenda 2030, This article's in the description, and then you can look at it for yourself and make up your own mind. It says the aim of the $900 billion scheme, as China explained recently, is to kindle a, quote, new era of globalization, a golden age of commerce that will benefit all. Beijing says it will ultimately lend as much as $8 trillion for infrastructure in 68 countries. That adds up to as much as 65% of the global population and a third of the global GDP, according to the global consultancy McKinsey. But reviews from the rest of the world have been mixed, with several countries expressing suspicion about China's true geopolitical intentions, even while others attend a summit in Beijing earlier this month to praise the scale and scope of the project. So it says, why is China doing it? One strong incentive is that the Trans-Eurasian trade infrastructure could bolster poor countries in the south of China, as well as to boost global trade. Domestic regions are also expected to benefit, especially the less developed border regions in the west of the country, such as Xinjiang. The economic benefits, both domestically and abroad, are many, but perhaps the most obvious is that trading with new markets could go a long way towards keeping China's national economy buoyant. Brethren 123 says, with what bad drywall made in China is the joke. That's funny. I don't care who you are. But what I'm getting at here, China's the money bags behind this. They're the ones wanting to open the trade routes. They're bringing Russia. They have Turkey. They have all this coalition, these allies over there, creating trade routes. You don't know about this. This is going on too. Can't remember if many people have covered this. As Asia, I think Dabu 7 covered this. Asia-Pacific trade deals signed by 11 nations. 11 Asia-Pacific countries have just signed the Trade Pact, formerly known as the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Although the U.S. pulled out last year, the deal was salvaged by the remaining members who signed it at a ceremony in the Chilean city of Santiago. Chilean Foreign Minister Geraldo Munoz said the agreement was a strong signal against protectionist pressures in favor of a world open to trade. The deal covers a market of nearly 500 million people despite the U.S. pullout. In the absence of the U.S., it was been renamed the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, or CPTPP. Extraneous objectives aside, its supporters say it's hugely significant and it could be a model for future trade deals. And you can go through here. It says its main purpose is to slash trade tariffs between member countries. So it's a competitive trade deal. So if any of these other countries are getting, let's say, if any of these other countries are getting tariffs from our country, what they're trying to do is become more independent away from our stuff here in our country. So our imports and exports, they're trying to get away from that type of stuff. They want their independence economically, financially, whatever it may be. Everybody's a part of the Agenda 2030 thing. So this whole, building the smart cities, the implementation of 5G, the faculties or facilities that they run that are on 5G, all those types of things, that is all part of the Agenda 2030. These trade routes is to make everything more sustainable development. It's part of Agenda 2030. Xi Jinping is the money bags behind the whole thing. And this is what's happening because obviously Trump doesn't want any part of it. He wants our sovereignty here. He's backed out of a lot of things. He's changed a lot of things, and now because he won't play ball with communist countries or get good enough deals from them, then he's backed off, and these people are going independently, creating their own alliances, opening trade routes, and at the looks of things, it's going to be by any means necessary. Okay, I think this is the last article I have. If you guys want to call in, the number scrolling across the bottom of the screen, 1-408-638-0968. Enter the meeting ID 534-233-4758. It'll put you in a waiting room, and then I will screen those phone calls as well. This article says terrifying proof China has gone rogue. Things are not going how Mr. Xi anticipated. He got a spectacular 70th anniversary of the People's Republic parade through central Beijing, but his international standing is in free fall. He wants to prove he's been making China great again. He wants to show he can reshape the world, and he wants to push the U.S. to the sidelines, like I just said. And he won't budge an inch on the multitude of crises afflicting his authoritarian rule. Our determination and resolve, China's top diplomat Yang Jiechi declared, are, quote, as firm as iron when it comes to defending our national interest and dignity on issues about Taiwan, maritime affairs, Xinjiang, Tibet, Hong Kong, as well as trade rifts. No one should expect China to swallow the bitter fruit that would damage our own interest. Mr. Xi's tight grip is causing cracks to appear in China's society. Its demographic is aging rapidly, and its now defunct one-child policy also produced a massive surplus of males, many of whom are unable to find wives. There's drought, and there's a plague killing off its pigs, and there's overwhelming pollution. But any sign of dissent is immediately crushed through China's all-encompassing surveillance state, or your wonderful social credit score that is coming to a smart city near you, where you'll live in your coffin apartment and serve your overlords as peasants of the state. Some of you might think that that's, I'm being serious. I mean, I'm joking, but that's what they want for us. Mortgages are exploding, the economy is choking, China is facing increasing challenges abroad, and Taiwan is digging in the heels against Mr. Xi's determined push for integration. Hong Kong students have seen what happens across the border and don't want part of it, but Mr. Xi thinks he has it in hand. He's casting aside all norms. International rules, regulations, and restrictions are meaningless hurdles in his path. As a result, China appears to track to rapidly become the next rogue state. A year later, the man behind China's gene-editing baby outrage has vanished. You guys don't know about that. He was part of that CRISPR thing. He gene-edited what he said was 2 babies. It turned out to be 3 babies. They found out about it. 3 years in prison for him. So they say 3 years in prison for him. They probably took him and harvested his organs also. Because, you know, that's what they do there. If they're not socially engineering the Uyghurs that they have locked in their internment camps, then they're dicing them up and harvesting organs. Yes, YouTube, I said that. Trained in the U.S., Zhang Hu tinkered with genes associated with the HIV/AIDS resistance and intelligence. Several modified babies have been born. Perhaps the state-funded scientist's worst offense was being caught. His story came to light as he sought to announce his breakthrough to international gathering of his peers, and that hasn't been the end of it. China has since allowed a human and a monkey to crossbreed, and cloned soldier dogs are just the first evidence of such technology reaching the front lines. So they did the, pig-monkey chimeras. I think everybody covered that one. It says the world now has the technology to build better humans. Military police undergo, so that's what that is, intensive training. Let me go to the chat. It says it can potentially manufacture workers and soldiers with souped-up senses, better pain tolerance, better strength and endurance. As the rest of the world grapples with the gene editing's legal and ethical challenges, Beijing sees it as an opportunity to leapfrog ahead. We also have that plan. I did a video on that. I think it's called America's idea for cyborg soldiers or something like that, where they want to implement all the stuff into the muscles, enhance the vision, speak telepathically through the droids on the brain passages that Elon Musk wants to create for everybody, where you can just think and type and all that awesome stuff. It says Russia is also taking strides down this path, and parliamentaries recently ordered a new study on what is called assisted human reproduction. It's not just about molding super soldiers. Moscow wants gene editing to build, quote, a new type of society. A society is very high on Chairman Xi's mind. These supercharged efforts to synthesize everything about his country, especially the non-Sino provinces. That includes rewriting the Bible, demolishing mosques, firewalling the internet, burning books, jailing poets, and sterilizing Uyghurs, like I just said. If you guys don't know anything about that whole Uyghur situation going on over there, I did a video on that where I read an article where they put them in, they're basically concentration camps. They do it to the Muslim population over there too. They put them in concentration camps. They try to gentrify them so when they go back out into society, if they don't die while they're locked up in the said concentration camps, then what they do is they send them back out into society and see how they interact with people. But also people that aren't even from China, that are maybe, you know, like somewhere around this area, they've been jailed and locked up for no apparent reason. And it is what it is over there. But what China has going on over there, they like the model China has. They want that model implemented worldwide. The mass surveillance, the coffin cities, all, you know, the smart cities, their 5G technology, all of those things, they want it worldwide. That's why Xi's leading the charge when it comes to this technocratic dystopia. Let me go to the chat real quick. Four Eyes. They already have super soldiers at the bottom of Antarctica. If you're referring to the fallen ones or the Nephilim, you might be correct. It says China has always been a surveillance state, but now it realizes it has a willing spy in virtually every citizen's pocket, their mobile phones, which is in your pocket, ladies and gentlemen. Why you can't get a Huawei phone? Because, you know, they love to hack everything. Through your applications, all that stuff. Through such web-connected devices, the Communist Party knows whether you've been naughty or nice, or what passes as such under its rules. So a freshly enhanced social score system is being rolled out. And I did a video on that where they are doing the social credit scores, or not social, well, it's a sort of a social credit system in the universities. Not all universities, but a lot of universities are using it, and they're using Bluetooth beacons, and that's the way they want to track everybody at college. Make sure they're going to class. If they skip class, they step outside of class if their character changes. And the guy that created it believes that that it helps to socially engineer, for one, the members of the football team and sports teams in college and students in general. So they're using the Bluetooth beacons. The way they'll do this in our society, smart city society, the plan is through the 5G and their little, 5G honeycomb millimeter wave extender beacons that they're going to try to put on the inside of apartment complexes, buildings outside of fire departments, you name it. Basically, they want to fry your reproductive organs and kill you from your internals outwards while the birds, fall to the ground and type of stuff. It says through such web-connected devices, the Communist Party, I just read that, it says visit the bottle shop or attend a church, you'll get the mark against your name. Read the compulsory G-Thought app or attend a party meeting, you'll get a tick. The resulting score will determine if you get that holiday to the coast or that promotion you've been chasing, or be harassed by the police at every AI surveilled street corner. The pure lethality of killer robots is well recognized. Clunky human reflexes aren't fast enough. Ear and eyes are Mark I old tech in the face of satellite network enhanced optics, infrared radar, and seismic sensors. Those stares do remain a challenge to most robots. Despite international calls to regulate AI on the battlefield, China is racing ahead. It's even started selling early examples of its killer robots to world hotspots such as the Middle East. If you don't know what that reference is to, everybody's talked about this too. China has the helicopter drones with the shotguns or semi-automatic, fully automatic weapons that are tucked underneath it. They fly in swarms. I know the ones that Turkey's bought or is buying, one guy can control 3 at a time, and they shoot with precision. Could that be the swarm of locusts that fly from over there? Could be. It says China is a world leader in this cutting-edge technology. The missiles and aircraft fly so fast they usually melt and tumble out of control. But traveling at such speeds puts them out of reach of most existing radars, interceptors, and even early warning alarms. Then there's space. Destroying an opponent's communications and GPS satellites would give any army a winning edge, though clouds of high-velocity debris would close off access to space forever. It's why space has in the past been internationally regarded as no shooting zone, but China and Russia are now racing to build laser missile and satellite interceptors to eliminate Western satellite assets. What's all the point of such brutal new weaponry? China is the world's #1 guzzler of energy, and most of its oil has gas comes from the Middle East through narrow maritime checkpoints. Hey, what's up, Meech? Hello, Marcia G. from Missouri. It says these can be closed off by determined enemy, and Chairman Xi wants to control the Straits of Tehran and the Red Sea, the Malacca Strait of Singapore, the Karamata and Sunda Straits of Indonesia, the Taiwan Strait, and the East China Sea. That's if expensive diplomatic and economic belt and road initiative proves inadequate. The defection of a man purporting to be a Chinese spy is but one of the recent diplomatic bombshells for Beijing, and China immediately sought to discredit Wang, man, these names are getting hard, Li Quang, by calling him a convicted fraudster, but its own extensive history of, quote, fake news has blunted these claims. Not that anyone doubts Mr. Xi has ordered extensive influence operations in Hong Kong, Taiwan, and the rest of the world. Several agents have allegedly been caught in the act in the U.S., and those are in reference, if you're living under a rock and don't know this, I believe 3 individuals have been caught in Florida, 2 in Mar-a-Lago, 1 creeped around a fence at a naval base, taking photographs of what he said was the sun. We know damn well that that's not the truth, but that's probably what he was doing, was taking photographs of military personnel and armaments. So it says, then there were the mountains of documentation betraying the Chinese Communist Party actions in Xinjiang. We knew they were never vocational training centers for the ethnic minority Uyghurs, as claimed, but these documents prove details on how these mass intermittent mind-washing centers operate. I read that article and I just discussed that a little bit. It says, then the very system of government Mr. Xi has been working with Russia's Vladimir Putin to undermine democracy delivered him a direct slap to the face. Hong Kong overwhelmingly voted against Mr. Xi's great new vision for China, even as Mr. Xi sought to cast aside the agreement negotiated with Britain in the 1990s for the international trade hub's handover. All 3 disasters happened in the space of just one November weekend. It comes against a seemingly endless trade war with the United States, allegations of interference throughout Europe, Australia, and the Pacific, and lingering doubts over the integrity and independence of China's commercial corporations. Mr. Xi remains steadfast. He has already removed all limits to his rule. His state-controlled media and draconian pilot bureau remain on message. Bureaucrats who dare to contradict him have been purged. Political rivals have been convicted as corrupt, but amid all, at least one senior Communist Party member saw fit to leak the Uyghur documents. A potentially crucial spy has defected to Australia. Mr. Xi's going rogue may end up expecting an unexpectedly high price. So, what do you guys think about that? You can put it in the comments. But it's what I think. He, from what I believe, I believe he is the money bags behind the whole thing. He's the driving force for the trade routes that are opening up in the Middle East. So we have China, we have Iran, we have Pakistan, we have India, we have Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Israel, and now the U.S. over there, Libya, all these things that are popping off. Could this, and I'm asking, is it perfect storm brewing over there in the Middle East? Could this be the start of what is prophesied in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38 and 39? To me, all signs are pointing to yes, as far as opening this Agenda 2030 routes and those types of things. It could be a possibility. I'm not saying that it is, but it could be a possibility. So if anyone wants to call in, the phone lines are open. 1408-638-0968, meeting ID 534-233-4758. You guys could call in, and I'll take those calls. I'll give it a minute, see if anybody wants to call in. You can talk about any of those articles. You can bring up any of the articles that you want to talk about or discuss. You guys can do that over here as well. I'm going to pull up D-Live real quick over here in the... which I might start clipping here for a minute. Shauna750, thanks for the follow. Meech, thanks for the follow. Brindy, I'm horrible at names. Brindy Sue, thanks for the follow. Just Jules, thanks for the follow. Thank you for everybody that followed over in D Live. Everybody's going over there. What I did with this is I knew that this crap was going to come with YouTube. I set this up as the fail-safe for YouTube to go down, Twitch to go down, Periscope to go down, all the streaming services to go down. So I've been over here on D Live, and I stream over here. Mine is set up where these will play back for 3 days on the channel. They'll also be on YouTube. They'll also be on Periscope, and you can get all those there. If you listen to the podcast, it's on iTunes, Google Podcasts. It is on, let's see. It is on anchor.fm/The Kingsman Report. You can go there, link to the website, link to all the platforms it's available on. All the social medias are on there, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook group, all those things are in there. You guys are more than welcome to hang out there. Send articles, whatever you guys want to do. Let's see. TK, Holy Spirit field, not looking for confrontation, just where the Holy Spirit has led me and now shows me confirmation. That's the way to live. I'm going to pull up D Live. I didn't even see how many people were here. 11 people over in D-Live. Which the chest isn't that big, but I'm going to go ahead and pop it for you guys. Hey Kings X, when you follow good information, I'll definitely catch the replays too. It's giving me problems, it won't let me do it. So that is pretty much it I have for tonight. So that's the question. You guys take all the information. All the links are in the description on YouTube. You guys can go there and check all that stuff out. And, you know, make up your mind for yourself. Plus all the other articles that I read tonight are over there as well. I like yours too, King's X. And if anyone is just, thanks, Brethren 123. If anyone is just tuning in, if you're seeing messages go YouTube and it says restream YouTube, they're all integrated with each other. So everyone can talk to each other, whether you're on Twitch, DLive, or YouTube. They're all integrated. So whenever I type something in, like line is open, it'll say restream, and then it distributes it to DLive and all those things. So you know that it's me talking to you guys. So if no one wants to call in tonight, hopefully we'll get there sooner or later. Then I'm going to go ahead and get off here. What time is it? 8:21, hour and 21. That's a pretty good time. I don't know how tomorrow's going to go. I have to take my mother-in-law to the airport. So I'm going to try to see what I can do as far as going live. But I appreciate you guys who viewed. Thanks to everyone that subbed on YouTube. Thanks to everybody that followed on DLive. People that are viewing on Periscope. If anyone's over on Periscope, I haven't even been over there to check. You guys have a good evening. I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. And once again, if you want this in podcast form, I'll edit it and upload it. It's available everywhere podcasts are available. And you can go there to anchor.fm. You can support the podcast there. You can leave a message for the podcast if you don't want to call in. And I can record those into the next live stream. So my name's Ryan. I'm signing off of here. You guys have a good night. Stay safe. Love one another. Shalom and Yah bless.
What the hell am I doing this for? Lying here on my bedroom floor, finding peace in the memories of you. I wasn't missing a thing, no, I do. And I wish that I could build a time machine, 'cause time moves on, and now you're gone. Oh, if only I could build a time machine, I'd come and get you. I can't forget you. I miss you, I miss you, I miss you all the time. I wish that, I wish that, I wish that you were mine. I miss you, I miss you, I miss you all the time. I wish that, I wish that, I wish that you were mine. Jet plane.
Bye.